Okay, so diving into this Air India 171 accident, it's obviously a really tragic event, and I think, like a lot of people, you probably remember the confusion right after it happened.
Oh, absolutely. Those initial reports, the videos,
Mm.
they just left so many questions unanswered.
Yeah, you saw all those theories flying around immediately. Was it, both engines failing, maybe birds, or contaminated fuel?
Right, or was it something with the pilots, like flaps set wrong for takeoff or maybe retracted too soon? That was definitely out there.
And what made it such a head scratcher, I think, was that the early footage didn't show the usual signs, did it?
Exactly. No big fireballs, no sparks showering down, no thick smoke pouring from the engines, and the landing gear was still down. Well, it didn't scream engine failure right away.
It really felt like a puzzle based on what we saw first, but the reason we're digging back into this now is this new evidence you mentioned, specifically a much, much clearer video.
Yeah, that's the key. A lot of what circulated early on was pretty poor quality, like a video of someone filming a video playback, you know, degraded.
Right.
But a sharper original version surfaced, and it shows details you just couldn't make out before.
Okay, and that's what we need to unpack. So, our mission today, using this material, is to figure out what this new evidence tells us about what actually happened up there, even if, maybe, the why is still a big question mark. Let's get into it.
Okay, so looking at that clearer video,
Huh?
the absolute game changer, the thing that connects a lot of these dots, it involves a small but really critical piece of kit on modern planes like the 787. It's called the Ram Air Turbine.
The RAT, okay.
ERAT, yeah.
Sounds a bit dramatic, maybe. But it's an emergency thing, right? Like a backup power source?
Exactly. It's precisely that. Think of it like a little propeller, usually two blades, tucked away in the belly of the plane.
Okay.
Often just behind the wing on the right side, usually
Yeah.
behind a little door. When it pops out, people say it looks a bit like a tiny outboard motor, like an old Evinrude or something, just hanging there.
Ah, a hidden propeller. And what's its job? Why deploy it?
Purely for extreme emergencies. If the plane loses its main power sources,
Yeah.
the engine generators fail, the APU fails, the RAT deploys automatically.
Right.
Its whole purpose is to give the pilots minimum essential electrical power and hydraulic pressure, just enough to keep basic controls and maybe radios working. It's a real last resort.
And on a 787, what makes it deploy? Is it automatic?
Yes, automatic under very specific, very serious conditions. A massive electrical system failure, a massive hydraulic system failure, or, and this is key for our deep dive, a dual engine failure, both engines quitting.
So if you see the RE deployed, that's basically proof that something catastrophic has gone wrong with power or engines.
Bingo.
And the new video actually shows this RE deployed.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting looking closely at that clearer footage. The central finding is clear visual confirmation. The RET was deployed on Air India 171.
How on earth can you see something that small on a video of a plane during something like this?
Well, in the sharper video, as the plane is coming down, if you freeze the frame and really zoom in on the belly area, just after the wing, you can clearly see a protrusion. That's the door that pops open.
Okay.
And just below that, sort of extending out, it's a little gray shape. It's small, but it's there. That's the RA itself spinning.
Wow.
On the blurry videos, you might just dismiss it as like a glitch or an artifact.
Yeah.
But in the high-res version, it's definitely the RA. So, strong visual confirmation.
Visual is powerful. Is there anything else, any other evidence backing this up from the sources?
Oh, yeah. The clearer video also has much better audio, and that gives us the second piece.
Okay.
So, RAT, when it's deployed and working, makes a very unique sound. It's not like a jet engine at all,
Right. I wouldn't expect it to be.
because it's this small two-bladed prop spinning incredibly fast.
Yeah.
I mean, the tips can be going near the speed of sound to generate enough power. It makes this high-pitched whining or squealing sound, almost like a really angry Pratt plane.
So totally different from the low roar of the main engines?
Completely different. The audio on those earlier videos was just too muddy, too much noise. But on the clearer one, you can actually pick out this distinct high-pitched sound overlaying everything else. There's some comparison audio out there, I think, from a Japan Air 787 that had an emergency landing with the RA deployed. It sounds very similar. People describe it like a little Cessna buzzing by, or even like a World War II buzzboy plane. It's quite specific.
So the audio track on the better video basically confirms the R8 was running.
It provides really strong oral confirmation, yes. It matches the expected sound signature.
Okay, so we've got visual from the video, audio from the video.
Right.
What else? Did the sources mention anything else that fits?
They did. There's also the eyewitness testimony. Remarkably, as mentioned in the articles, there was one survivor from the crash.
Incredible. I remember reading that.
Yeah. He was apparently in seat 11A, which is near an emergency exit, and importantly, just a few rows ahead of the main wing structure, the spar. Some think that location might have offered some protection.
Makes sense. And what did he report seeing or hearing?
His account is chilling, and it lines up perfectly with the RE deploying. He said he heard a loud bang and then saw the lights flicker inside the cabin just before the impact.
A loud bang and flickering lights.
Exactly. Think about it. A loud bang is very consistent with the force of that R8 door being pushed open into the airflow and the turbine snapping into place.
Right, it wouldn't be silent.
No. And the flickering lights. That's textbook for what happens when the aircraft's electrical system suddenly switches over from its main failed sources to the minimal emergency power being supplied by the R8. Power fluctuates briefly.
So his senses, what he saw and heard, directly corroborate the mechanical event of the RAT deploying.
It provides a compelling third piece of confirming evidence, yes. Fits perfectly.
And I think I saw mention in the materials about possible radio calls. Is that confirmed?
That's the potential fourth piece. It's mentioned in reports, though. Finding confirmed ATC audio is difficult. But the reports suggest the captain did manage a very brief Mayday call.
And what did they say?
The reports indicate the call mentioned they were losing thrust, losing engine power. If that's accurate, it directly points to engine failure.
Okay, so let's pull this together. You've got the visual RAT on video, the RAT sound on video, the survivor hearing a bang and seeing lights flicker, and potentially a Mayday call about losing thrust.
Correct. When you stack all that evidence up, it builds an incredibly strong case. It points very, very strongly toward a dual engine failure happening almost immediately after the plane rotated, lifted off the runway.
But isn't the R8 meant for emergencies way up high, like losing engines at cruise altitude?
That's its main design purpose, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a crucial point here. It's designed for, say, 30,000 feet. Up there, if you lose engines, the plane can glide for quite a while.
Giving you time.
Right. Time to troubleshoot, find a place to land, and the RAT provides just enough juice to keep minimal control.
But this happened just after takeoff, maybe 400, 500 feet up.
Exactly. And that's the mismatch. Deploying the RAT that low, well, it confirms the emergency condition triggered it, the electrical, hydraulic, or engine failure.
Yeah.
But the RAT itself provides zero thrust.
It can't push the plane forward.
No, and it only provides minimal flight control power. It simply cannot arrest the descent or allow recovery from a total loss of engine power when you're that low and slow right after takeoff.
So it deploying proves the emergency, but it couldn't fix the problem at that point.
Precisely. And adding to that, the descriptions from the sources, how the plane seemed to just mush out of the sky, sort of sinking, losing lift rapidly, not really gliding, that strongly suggests thrust was gone.
As opposed to just losing hydraulics or electrics, where you might still have engine power but less control.
Correct. While a massive electrical or hydraulic failure could technically deploy the RAT, the way the aircraft lost altitude so quickly, right after takeoff points, much more directly to a loss of propulsion, dual engine failure.
So this shifts the whole analysis, doesn't it? Away from those initial ideas like flap settings or even bird strike.
Fundamentally, yes. Based on this convergence of evidence from the sources, that dual engine failure theory moves right to the top. It becomes, priority number one for explaining the what.
And things like pilot error, less likely now.
Significantly less likely as the primary cause. Given the clear signs of major system failure indicated by the RAT, maybe it drops to third place in likelihood, perhaps. And it's interesting, the Aviation Herald report you included. Their early analysis, based on the initial info, correctly ruled out bird strike, no birds found, and they doubted pilot error too.
Mm-hmm.
But they also initially ruled out dual engine failure.
Right.
Which just highlights how critical getting better quality evidence like this clearer video really is. It can completely change the direction of an investigation.
Okay, so summing up where we are now based on all this, what's the big picture?
The big picture is we now have, I think, pretty significant clarity on what happened in those final critical moments. The evidence overwhelmingly points to a dual engine failure. The RAT deployment, seen and heard, backed up by the survivor's account, and possibly that Mayday call, makes that scenario very compelling.
We know what brought the plane down, but the why, that seems like the huge remaining question.
Exactly. That's the profound mystery that's still wide open. Why would both engines on a modern sophisticated aircraft like a 787 fail at the same time right after takeoff?
Yeah, that's the real head scratcher now.
It is. In a way, Identifying the dual engine failure via the ROT evidence almost sends the investigation back to square one on figuring out the root cause. What initiated that failure?
Fuel contamination keeps getting mentioned in some reports I saw.
It does, and it's certainly a possibility that has to be considered. Bad fuel could theoretically affect both engines.
Yeah.
But honestly, based on what's known publicly from these sources, the door is wide open. It could be fuel, it could be some undiscovered mechanical issue, something systemic. We just don't know yet.
Which means the black boxes are absolutely critical.
Absolutely essential.
Hmm.
The flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, they hold the detailed performance data and the crew's conversations. That's where the answers to why this happened are most likely to be found.
Right.
So as we wrap this up, it's quite something to consider, isn't it? How one clear piece of evidence, that visual of the RAT from a better video, combined with the audio and the eyewitness account, can cut through so much fog and point investigators in a new direction.
It really shifts the focus.
It does. So maybe something for you to think about is how these different types of evidence, the technical video audio, the human element of the survivor's story, how they interlock to build such a strong narrative about the what, even while leaving that huge question of why still hanging. What stands out to you about how it all fits together?